Hey guys, it's Matt. I hope everyone's doing well. I know it's been an eternity since I've uploaded, but the summer is just getting busier and busier. A lot of great things are happening behind the scenes, and when I come home from work, I'm like, ooh, I have to make a video, and then thing A happens and thing B happens, and then it just kind of compiles into a bunch of different things. Today I wanted to talk about weddings. Back in June I filmed my first real legit wedding. I actually had a bunch of other equipment kind of attached to this rig. I just wanted to talk about my first wedding filming experience because I was pretty nervous. The more you prepare for these shoots, the better the video's gonna be. I would say when you're going to film your first wedding, it's hard not to be nervous, but you're gonna do a great job. So just take a deep breath and realize that everything's gonna be okay. I prioritized audio over video, and this really helped me. Once I got the great audio from the bride and groom, everything else went smoothly. I went to the rehearsal, which looking back, I didn't really need to do, but it was kind of nice because I got to see all the different parts of the church. I got to test out some different shots. Really looking back on it, I only went to the rehearsal because I was super nervous and I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I definitely could have filmed a good video without going to the rehearsal. When I say put audio over video, what do I mean by that? You want to get great audio of the bride and groom. I used the DJI mics. I attached 2 lavaliers to each microphone. For this shoot, I didn't mic up the bride, and the audio was so clear that I didn't have to. So it all worked out. There's this piece of white tape that goes over the lavalier, and with a groom, it matches perfectly with their suit, but you need that white piece of tape for the dress. I was a little nervous on how the audio would sound, but for this wedding, I decided I was not going to mic up the bride. I was going to mic up the groom and the pastor. The audio sounded great from all 3, which I was like, whew, it all worked out. In the future, I will most likely mic up the bride. I just have to tighten a few screws in order to do that. What's great about the DJI mics is you can internally record the audio wirelessly. The transmitter and receiver are communicating with each other right now. But you can also, if I press this button, I can internally record on the microphone. So if I'm over here and I'm trying to get a shot and I'm not internally recording, and let's say the groom's in another room or he's walking down the aisle or he's basically in a different place that's super far from the camera, that audio is going to sound choppy and it's going to get cut up. From here, I don't know if you can see this, but if I just swipe up on this left one and I click TX1 record, I was able to wirelessly internally record all mics from a distance. It didn't save the edit, but it was great because it doesn't matter how far away my camera is because it's all internally recording from right here. Once I had audio, I was able to relax, overcompensate your shots, and just shoot everything. So I came to the church before people got busy. I filmed the pews and all the decorations and all the little notes and whatever, and that was great. Then when people came in the entrance, I got shots of everyone. Definitely always mix it up. Wide, medium, tight shots. You know, you want to get shots of as many people as possible. When you're filming relatives or friends and family of the bride and groom, you want to make sure that you have a pretty equal distribution of the different members of the family from each side, if that makes sense. I don't want to get 10 shots of cousins from the groom's side and only 3 shots of cousins or family members from the bride's side of the family. The way that you do this is you just film everyone. That's what you do. You just try to get shots of everyone. So first I got B-roll shots of the church before people entered. Then when people were at the entrance, I got people hugging each other, talking to each other, conversating. When I'm filming all this, the microphones are already on the groom, and in this case, I mic'd up the pastor. I will get to a point where I will mic up the bride, but I didn't want to ruin her dress. I was like, let's play it safe. The first thing I do after I get the shots of just the church with no one in it is I talk to the groom, I talk to the pastor. I said, this is what I'm going to do, communicate with the people that you're filming. I explained that yes, I can record this stuff wirelessly, which was their main concern. What this is doing is it's giving me peace of mind because I know 2 of my most important people in the video are going to have crystal clear audio, which is great. So then the ceremony starts. I wanted to get a shot of all the bridesmaids. I wanted to get a shot of all the groomsmen. I wanted to get shots of the mom and the dads walking down the aisle. One of the most important shots for me was getting the bride walking down the aisle with her dad. I made sure that I was close enough to get her walking down the aisle and the groom's reaction, but I also wanted to make sure that I was far enough away to zip in and out of there, because there was also a photographer at the event, and obviously I don't want to show up in any of those super important photos. So I'm standing here, I have my camera here focused on the bride and her dad walking down the aisle, and I get that for about a few seconds, and then boom, I'm tilting right here, I'm zooming in, and I'm getting the groom's reaction, and I'm making sure that my hands are as still as possible. That was a super important shot for me. The ceremony happened, and I had a tripod kind of up on like the second, there was like a deck above where everyone was sitting, and that was the best place for me to get the shot that I wanted. So I got them, you know, doing their wedding stuff, right? The majority of that wasn't actually put into the final video. This is not gonna be like a 30-minute video. It's just a 4-minute recap, obviously. In case there were any great audio bites, which there were, I really wanted to get that for the audio portion rather than the visuals. I think I forgot my headphones on this shoot. I think I forgot my headphones, but I was so far away from the bride and groom. Even if I did have headphones, that would have probably freaked me out even a little bit more, because since I was so far away, the audio would have sounded choppy, but it doesn't matter because I was internally recording, so I was getting all that crystal clear audio. When I was miking up the pastor, I made sure to mic him on the left side because that was closest to the bride. I go back into DaVinci, the audio is crystal clear, so it worked out great. In my head, I was kind of creating this internal clock of like, okay, the super important moments are going to happen soon. Get this camera off the tripod and go handheld. And I did, and I captured their first kiss, and it was great. So now that the ceremony went beautifully and there were no issues, I can kind of relax and continue to just kind of experiment and have fun with a lot of my shots. People walk back out to the entrance, there's cake. That gives me more time to get shots of anyone that I might have missed. While that's happening, then I'm also running back in and getting shots of the bride and groom with their different parts of their family for like family photos. Then we move to like the party portion of the wedding, which is great. I was lucky enough to have a photographer. The wedding photographers are always amazing. The bride and groom had like a private photo session in this really beautiful garden, and the photographer kind of just directed everything, and I just kind of stood behind with my camera, got some great shots. These shots made the whole video because the focus of the video is on them. It made the editing process so much easier because there was always a shot I could grab of either the bride or groom, depending on the context, whether that's music or audio. And then everyone, you know, they eat, they party, music, they played games, captured all that. This was outdoors. One thing that I kept tricking myself, and I think it was because it was like a wedding, I was nervous. While I'm outside, obviously I have an ND filter, and there was a part of me that was looking at the monitor, and I'm like, does the monitor register the ND filter? Obviously, yes, it does, but I don't know why I was like freaking out about it. This monitor was great outside because it really allowed me to see the full image. And you got to think about, like, because of how bright everything is, being able to film a wedding on this thing can work indoors, but when you're outside, having this huge monitor is great to provide awesome composition for your shots. And then I also had a small rig battery attached to the back of it. Make sure that all your stuff is charged before a wedding. Just, you know, just prep, be prepared. Another thing I wanted to do that I was a little nervous about, my last goal of the video, was to get interviews from the bride's parents, the groom's parents, and some family and friends. You know, I get nervous about this stuff too all the time. It's like they're in the wedding, like they don't really know who I am. And then I just explain, I'm like, hey, I'm Matt. I'm here doing a video. Would you mind giving me 30 seconds of your time to leave a great message for the bride and the groom? They all said yes, and that was great. So I take them to a more secluded place because there was music playing and I want to get that crystal clear audio. I got some great interviews that I was able to put at the end of the video, and I think the interviews from the friends and family is what, in my mind, what the bride and the groom are going to look at down the line when they watch this video, because they can remember the interview of their mom and their dad, and it just creates this really great, authentic moment. So to recap, the reason why this first shoot went so well is because I was prioritizing audio over video. I was getting as many B-roll shots from as many different angles as I could. I was running around the whole day. Like, I had a little time to like sit down and eat, and it was hot. It's always hot, you know what I mean? Oh, also for this wedding shoot, I did bring the drone, but I didn't have time to get many great shots. So in this video, I didn't use a single drone shot, and after looking at it, I'm kind of glad that I didn't use any drone shots, because every wedding video you see, it always starts with a drone shot, and that's great. For me, I think being able to get the shots of just the bride and the groom in the garden and stuff like that, that was another creative way to start out the video without it just being a drone shot. The setup of this camera was not the same from indoors versus outdoors, and there's a lot of different reasons for that. The time that I could have spent getting drone shots, I was instead spending like 10 to 15 minutes. You know, this is like 50% of everything. I had to get the battery, the rail system, all the wires, the microphone, and then I had to run out and I had to make sure that me and the photographer were on the same page. Always communicate well with the photographer. The photographers are amazing. They're gonna make your life as a videographer so much easier, because you can just follow them, just be nice and be like, hey, we're both here with cameras. I got so many amazing shots. You don't have to get interviews in order to make a great wedding video. If you push yourself a little bit and you get those interviews, you're gonna be really happy that you did, because you can use that audio to maybe, you know, if the mom or the dad's talking, now you can kind of cut away from the bride and the groom for a little bit and show them and show family members and show friends. I'm very excited for my next wedding video. A lot of lessons learned, a lot of things where I'm like, okay, I could have done this instead of this. And that all comes with practice and experience. Don't get nervous. Everyone has done something for the first time all the time, you know what I mean? Come to the shoot prepared and have fun with it. The focus of the wedding is always on the bride and the groom, and you're there to kind of capture their story. When I was in here and I was setting up my camera for stuff, there were some shots that the photographer was taking that I missed. I missed some shots. I'm always going to miss shots. You're always going to miss shots. There's nothing you can do about it. Get as many clips as you can, and you will have a much smoother process when editing your videos. Yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day. Goodbye.